Hey guys, this is Tina from Quantum Healing with Tina. I'm a BQH practitioner, spirit releasement therapist, and intuitive empath. And today I just wanted to jump on and talk to you a little bit about what it feels like to communicate with the higher self. So, deep breath. I used to be one of those people who thought that receiving guidance was going to feel like something special, like something outside of yourself. It was going to maybe sound like a voice in your ear or a different voice in your head. But what I came to understand that we are energetic beings, right? We are energy. We open our crown, we connect with spirit, and we become a channel, right? To decipher the energy that's coming in. A lot of us are really embodying the higher self now. So it feels like our own thoughts. However, it's really that of the higher self. And we are the higher self. But in the beginning, it takes time to decipher those voices in your head because they all sound the same, right? So for instance, this whole week, I've really been feeling this massive purging happening within my body. I've been really tired, really difficult to get out of bed in the morning, just not doing much of anything, things that I don't have to do, not feeling motivated. But I kept getting the message that I needed to rest. Like I was hearing the words, you need to rest. This is like a big purge, a big upgrade. You need to rest. But then there's the ego. And the ego is telling me, what are you doing? Get up. You're lazy. You have things to do. Get out of bed. Get your day started. What do you mean you're going to meditate for an hour? You don't have time to meditate for an hour. You have to get up and do things, right? Do. That's the ego, because the ego wants to keep you safe and is always in your ear judging you. And it's really, the ego is really that voice in your head that is always judging you. It's going to call you lazy and unproductive and make you feel guilty for the things that you need to do. Even though that you know there's this higher part of you that is asking you to rest. Whether it's your actual higher self or your team of guides, the way you start to decipher those energies is to ask yourself, does this feel loving? Does this feel supportive? Or is this coming from a place of judgment? And is this voice, I had a woman recently who was, her higher self was kind of hijacked by another entity. And this entity would give her false praise and promise her things that would never come. And it would give her these bursts of energy that were too much for her body. It made her really uncomfortable and was like frying out her system. And I said, a higher self or a being of the light would never do that to you. Like it would never give you more than you can handle. It's always going to feel gentle and loving and supportive. It's not going to make false promises. It's not going to make you feel like you're more special than anyone. That's when you know there's something else going on there. Either it's your ego or another energy has hijacked your higher self. And that's what it seems like maybe what happened with her. And then, so the higher self, the ego guide backed down a little bit and kind of was impersonating the higher self because it backed down on the energy. It started behaving for a while. And I said, still be careful because they can impersonate the light. And that's what it was doing. And she caught it recently and realized that it had never gone. So the importance of this message is to tell you, to kind of give you a little heads up on how to decipher those energies. Your higher self is not going to feel like something outside of you speaking to you. It's going to feel like you. And that's why many like amazing channelers, they don't even fully trust themselves, because it sounds like their own voice speaking. And it is. It's just a higher aspect of you. And it's really about trusting. Really trusting that, like just throwing everything to the wind and trusting in that loving, supportive voice that wants the best for you. That's your higher self. And it's about embodying that, even though we call it the higher self because it's kind of in this area, your 8th chakra. But where we're going in our evolution is we're bringing that higher self down into the body. And that's why a lot of times when people have sessions that are really connected to their higher selves, they'll say, well, I already knew all of that. Well, yeah, you did, because you are your higher self and you have access to this information on a daily basis, and you listen to it and you put it to use. But for those of you who aren't as connected and your ego's still kind of the predominant voice in the forefront there, the way you tell the difference is the ego is always going to be judgmental. It's going to call you lazy and unproductive and tell you you should be doing something that your body just knows that you shouldn't be doing. And every once in a while you'll hear that subtle voice that says, no, you need to rest. And that's the voice you need to listen to and learn how to distinguish between your higher self and your ego. Because your higher self is never going to be pushy. It's not going to be pushy. It's not going to call you names. It's just going to be gentle and loving. And learning how to decipher those energies, because they're both going to sound like you. They're just going to sound like thoughts in your head. And that was really, learning that was really a revealing moment to me. And I realized that I always had that voice, and that voice is the guiding light, really, that I've been following all this time. I didn't know it was my higher self. It just felt good, right? And sometimes it will ask us to do things we don't fully understand, whether that's to buy a certain herb or a certain food, or to move to a certain place. And it's just about trusting in that and following that guidance, even though we might not know why. We need to have that blind trust that our higher self knows more than our ego personality knows. And it's a process. It's not like you're just going to trust your higher self overnight. It's going to take time to learn how to decipher the energy and know the difference between your higher self and your ego, and your team and your ego, and what true guidance from the higher realms feels like. And just allowing yourself to have the silence to listen to the thoughts that are going on in your head, and ask your higher self questions and see what you get back, and see if that guidance feels good to you or if it feels like your ego, and your higher self is never going to ask you to do anything that's unsafe for you. It's never going to judge you. It's always going to be supportive and loving and point you in the right direction. So yeah, that's basically it. If you guys have any questions, please leave them in the comments down below. I'd like to know your thoughts. If you have a good communication system with your higher self and how that feels to you. For me, it feels supportive and loving, and yeah, there's just no judgment there. The higher self is never judging. It's always supportive and loving. So let me know in the comments what that's like for you, and if you receive messages from your higher self or from your higher guidance team or other angels or guides, or, I mean, it's the same thing with guides, right? The voices are going to sound like your voice in your head. But it's about learning to decipher those energies and whose energy belongs to who, right? You might have a specific guide or your higher self or an angel, and the voices always sound the same in your head because they sound like your thoughts, but it's a different energy, and learning to interpret that. So I hope that clears up any confusion people have about what it feels like to communicate with spirit or your higher self. And you can also get information in other ways, like through visuals. Like you might just get a quick flash of something in your head. That's a guidance. That's how it comes for like psychics that read and stuff. They just get like those quick flashes. They might like hear clairaudiently, but they're hearing the information in their own voice. We can all do this. We all have the capacity to be psychic, quote unquote, and to have telepathy, because it's really just about learning to decipher those energies and pick up on this. It's so subtle. It's so subtle. Like your guides aren't going to land in your living room in front of you and, you know, give you a message. It's just going to come in as a subtle energy, a visual, a sign from outside of you, but it's not going to be like, bam, right in your face. Or it might be, like if you're not listening, sometimes they do come through that strong. If the subtle clues aren't working, they might just do bam right in front of your face. So that can happen. But most of the time it's going to be super subtle, like super, super subtle. And it's about tuning into those subtle realms and deciphering those subtle energies. And the more you embody your higher self, the more you will feel aligned and know what the best thing for you to do is. So if you're lying in bed and your ego is telling you you're lazy to get up, and you hear your higher self say, no, we need you to rest. You know, there's something major going on, and you have that feeling, then you can relax and be like, oh, okay. Ego, you can quiet down now. We need to rest. That happens a lot for me. My ego really loves to call me lazy and unproductive and tell me to get up and out of bed. But there's this higher part of me that knows something bigger is going on. The human body is going through a lot right now, you guys, like a lot. We've never done this in physical form before. We've never ascended in the physical form. So it is a lot on the body with all the rewiring and stuff that's going on. So our consciousness is leveling up. It's up here, right? But the body is still, it's trying to catch up, and it's making these physical changes, and that's what's causing these physical manifestations and symptoms. So you really have to be gentle with yourselves and not let the ego force you into doing things that you don't have to be doing. If you have the time to rest, please rest. Please be gentle with yourselves. Drink lots of water and really start listening to the higher self. Start using your discernment and decipher those voices in your head and ask yourself, is this loving and supportive, or is this a judgmental ego? So yeah, let me know in the comments what you think about that. If you feel like you can communicate with your higher self, because you can, absolutely can. You have the capacity. It's just about allowing and learning to decipher those subtle energies. And it's a process of learning, and it's really fun to learn and to pick up on the different energies and what's coming through to you. So yeah, let me know in the comments, like this video if you like it, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. I love you guys, and I'll see you next time. Bye.